the new trade deal, Mr. President.
All right, Jeff,
Mr.
Jeff, go
President,
ahead.
if the new trade deal is going to pay
Mr. President,
Go ahead.
you
Go ahead, Jeff.
you mentioned China, sir, in your remarks. Are you concerned about the words and the actions of Apple this week with regard to revenue? And can you tell us what sort of progress you meant when you were referring to trade talks with China?
Well, I think we're doing very well. China's paying us tremendous tariffs. We're getting billions and billions of dollars of money pouring into the Treasury of the United States, which in history we've never gotten from China, as you know. It's been very unfair. I had a fantastic meeting with President Xi, who I both like and respect. One of the things that came out of that meeting was fentanyl. As you know, almost all of it comes from China. And he's going to now criminalize the making of fentanyl. And unlike our country, they have unbelievably strong prohibitions about drugs. That was not on their list. They view it as I guess, as some kind of a commercial product. Now they view it as something that's very dangerous. They're going to be changing their laws to make fentanyl a criminal process if you're making fentanyl. If they do that, you know what their ultimate is. It's called the death penalty. I think that could have a tremendous, and I thanked President Xi very much. It was the first question I said to him when we started the trade talks in Argentina. This was a meeting that was supposed to last for about 45 minutes, and it ended up being almost 4 hours. Some of you were there. It was a great meeting. We'll see what happens. You never know with a deal. But I will tell you, China is not doing well now, and it puts us in a very strong position. We are doing very well. But we're taking in billions and billions of dollars, and I hope we're going to make a deal with China. And if we don't, they're paying us tens of billions of dollars worth of tariffs. Not the worst thing in the world. But I think we will make a deal with China. I really think they want to. I think they sort of have to. And I think we're going to have a great relationship. I think that President Xi and myself have a great relationship. Also, North Korea. We're doing very well with North Korea. And that's based on relationship also. Yeah.
Mr. President,
go ahead. One more quick one.
Just
Go
to
ahead,
follow up, sir. Apple issued a revenue warning this week, which led its stock to go down and the rest of the stock market to go down as well. Are you concerned about that?
No, I'm not. I mean, look, they've gone up a lot. You know, they've gone up hundreds of % since I'm president. Apple was at a number that was incredible, and they're going to be fine. Apple is a great company, but that's not my look. I have to worry about our country. Don't forget this. Apple makes their product in China. I told Tim Cook, who's a friend of mine, who I like a lot, make your product in the United States. Build those big, beautiful plants that go on for miles, it seems. Build those plants in the United States. I like that even better. Apple makes its product in China. China is the biggest beneficiary of Apple, more than us, because they build their product mostly in China. But now he's investing $350 billion because of what we did with taxes and the incentives that we created in the United States. He's going to build a campus and lots of other places. So my focus is the United States. I want to get those companies to come back, like so many are doing, into the United States. I want Apple to make their iPhones and all of the great things that they make in the United States, and that'll take place. Okay, thank you very much. I very much appreciate you being here. We have hurricane reports on Hurricane Michael. Unbelievably destructive, powerful. The one good thing we can say, we were just discussing, is that it was the fastest hurricane anybody's seen. It just was speedy. If it wasn't, there'd be absolutely nothing left. It was incredibly powerful. You've seen the destruction. It's moving through Georgia now at a much lesser pace, both in terms of speed and in terms of its power, 50, 60 mile an hour winds. But some of those winds reach almost 200 miles an hour, which is unheard of. People are saying it's the third most powerful that they've seen hit our country anywhere. We've done, I'll tell you, FEMA has gotten rave reviews. The first responders, law enforcement, everybody's gotten rave reviews. I just spoke with Governor Scott. They're very happy. Food is being now, following the hurricane, being now brought in. We have unbelievable large amounts of water and food and everything that people can want. The electric companies have been terrific. They're already working. The roads are being cleared out. Many trees are in the path of the electric companies. The roads are being cleaned right now. They're being, for the most part, they're open enough to get the electric companies in, and a lot of electricity is already back on. Some of the off electricity is already back on. That's in Florida. They're following up in Georgia. A lot of water will be in North and South Carolina, added to the horrible situation they had with Florence 2 weeks ago. But they're incredible people, and they know how to do it. They've done it before, and they'll do it again, but they know how to do it. So we've had great reports in everything. The big problem with this hurricane was the tremendous power. And fortunately, it was very fast. It went through Florida very, very quickly. It didn't linger, didn't come back as we had in Texas, where it actually came back a second time and then a third time. Went out, filled up, came back. This one went very quickly, but it's tremendous destruction. The areas where as the path that it chose is incredible, the kind of destruction. We've not seen destruction like that in a long time. But it's the rebuilding, I could actually say the rebuilding process and the survival looking process. We hope we don't have too much of that. The area most affected was hopefully 100% evacuated, but there's always somebody that stays, and in this case they would have been in big trouble. But so far the reports, as you know, are very good. So I want to thank you for that, and I don't know if you have any questions on the hurricane. Does anybody have any questions, John?
Do you have enough time to focus on the hurricane? A very busy day at the White House.
Yeah, I do. I have a very busy day today. We're doing, as you know, having to do with copyright music. We're doing right now the Save Our Seas Act of 2018, which is a very important thing. And yesterday I had a tremendous rally in Pennsylvania, and we had thousands of people lined up. And you couldn't tell those people, and they were there for a day and a half before. And I couldn't tell people that have been standing in line for a day and a half wanting to get into the arena that I'm not going. I went there. We had great control over what we were doing, both in Air Force One, at the White House, and in Florida. And I think you're seeing we're getting tremendous marks for the job that we did. And I wasn't going to disappoint thousands and thousands of people who've been standing on line for, in some cases, a day and a half. I wasn't going to do that, but I think we've really done a job. This is a particularly busy day because we're signing a number of bills, very different kinds of bills. So you'll be seeing me a little while later, I think, with a couple of the senators standing behind me right now, and you'll be seeing me and us in a little while. And we're having lunch with Jim Brown, one of the great football players of all time and a great guy, and Kanye West. They're coming in for lunch. And after that, we're doing some additional interesting things. But we have a busy day, but I always have a busy day. And the economy is doing really well. We think jobs are going to be better than ever. We think records are broken already, but we're going to continue to break the records. So let's talk about the Save Our Seas Act, if we could. And again, thank you all for being here. I want to thank also the members of Congress that are with us. That's Senator Dan Sullivan, who's been absolutely terrific, worked along with Sheldon Whitehouse, and these two have been spearheading something that's very important, and we want to thank you both. Sheldon, thank you, Dan.
Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. It's really, I know you worked very hard on it.
Work well together.
And Mrs. Sullivan, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it very much. We have Secretary of Commerce Wilbur Ross, who worked along with the senators, and acting NOAA Administrator Admiral Tim Gallaudet. You're here, and thank you for being here, Tim. Thank you very much. Great job you're doing. Every year, over 8 million tons of garbage is dumped into our beautiful oceans by many countries of the world. That includes China, that includes Japan, that includes many, many countries. This waste, trash, and debris harms not only marine life, but also fishermen, coastal economies along America's vast stretches. The bad news is it floats toward us. I've seen pictures recently, and some of you have seen them, where this vast, tremendous, unthinkable amount of garbage is floating right into our coast, in particular along the West Coast. and we're charged with removing it, which is a very unfair situation. It comes from other countries very far away. It takes 6 months and a year to float over, but it gets here, and it's a very unfair situation. It's also unbelievably bad for the oceans. Every year, over 8 million tons of garbage is dumped into our beautiful oceans. And when you think of that number, I mean, to think 8 million tons, and I would say it's probably, Senators, I think it's probably more than that based on what I've seen and based on the kind of work that I've seen being done. This dumping has happened for years and even for decades. Previous administrations did absolutely nothing to take on the foreign countries responsible. We've already notified most of them, and we've notified them very strongly. The Save Our Seas Act will help address this problem by extending the marine debris program for 5 additional years. We also are strengthening that up to improve waste management overseas and clean up our nation's water. We will boost the federal government's response to oceans waste by authorizing the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration to declare severe marine debris events, which happen all the time. It's incredible. It's incredible. When you look at it, people don't realize it, but all the time we're being inundated by debris from other countries. This legislation will release funds to states for cleanup and for response efforts, and we will be responding, and very strongly. The legislation also encourages the executive branch to engage with those nations responsible for dumping garbage into our oceans. My administration is doing exactly that. For example, the new United States-Mexico-Canada agreement is the first U.S. trade agreement ever to include commitments by the parties to cooperate to address land and sea-based pollution and improve waste management. And I can tell you that Dan and Sheldon were very insistent on trying to get that into the USMCA, the new agreement that we have with Canada and Mexico. And we'll be putting it into other agreements also. The United States has some of the most beautiful beaches and oceans in the world, and the coastlines are incredible. As president, I will continue to do everything I can to stop other nations from making our oceans into their landfills. That's why I'm pleased, very pleased, I must say, to put my signature on this important legislation. And again, I'd like to thank Dan and Sheldon and all of the people, the Admiral and Wilbur, all of the people that worked so hard on this. This was a tough one, but it had great bipartisan support. What was the final vote?
It was a unanimous consent.
Unanimous.
In the Senate. Yes, sir.
Bipartisan. Did you ever think, John, you'd hear that? Bipartisan. Well, that's pretty good. Can you imagine Trump and White House in the same area? It's all right. Hey, I have a lot of respect.
And what the president said about the administration, the Trump administration, doing a great job on this. It's an underreported story, but they are really taking the lead globally. And Mr. President, we want to thank you for
Well,
that.
I want
Very
to thank
bipartisan.
I want to thank you, and I want to thank Sheldon. Thank you, Commissioner Sheldon. See, we can shake hands.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for doing that. I appreciate it. Thank you, Wilbur. Thank you, Admiral. Thank you very much. All right, let's get this done properly, huh? Okay.
Great.
So with that, we're all completed, and I just want to say it's an honor, and hopefully that goes a long way for our oceans. We've notified other countries that have been abusers. They abuse the ocean. We've notified them already about this, and they're doing things. They tell us they're doing things, and I think in some cases at least they are, but they will be. And I want to thank you very much.
Thank you,
you,
Mr.
Sheldon.
President.
Thank you
Philippines
very
up
much.
next, Mr.
Congratulations.
President.
Yes,
Philippines
that's right.
up next. They're one of the worst 3.
Well, that's right. That's going to be interesting.
thank you.
So you're working on that?
We are.
That's very good.
With your trade
right.
team on the Philippine trade agreement.
We're okay
to
with
make sure
that.
this is
We support a resolution that is in the interest of American workers and also the American consumer. We're going to benefit our consumers, and we're going to create a lot of jobs. Our action today helps to create jobs in America for Americans. It will provide a strong incentive for LG and Samsung to follow through on their recent promises to build major manufacturing plants for washing machines right here in the United States. When we do this, a lot of manufacturers will be coming to the United States to build washing machines and also solar. For both solar and washing machines, these executive actions uphold the principle of fair trade and demonstrate to the world that the United States will not be taken advantage of anymore. Our companies will not be taken advantage of anymore. And our workers are going to have lots of really great jobs with products that are going to be made in the good old USA. And that's what this is all about. So I'm going to start signing. We'll go here first. This is to facilitate positive adjustment to competition from imports of large residential washers and washing machines, etc. Thank you. It's a very big industry, and you're going to have a lot of plants built in the United States that we're thinking of coming, but they would have never come unless we did this. Big industry, a lot bigger than people would understand. And this is similar, but this is for solar products. So that we'll be making solar products now, much more so in the United States. Our companies have been decimated, and those companies are going to be coming back strong. So this is panels and products generally, solar. Potentially great industry in this country, but now we'll be making it in the United States. Okay, a lot of workers, a lot of jobs. And these are our letters to the Speaker of the House, and essentially saying, let's go, we're done, we're ready, and this will start very rapidly. Okay.